morning.
Welcome to the morning show.
Yeah.
The Big Show with Glenn and Angel on Kiss 92.
Good morning.
Sometimes getting out of bed in the morning is a lot to deal with all at once.
Good morning and welcome to The Big Show and The Big Show TV. If you're not watching us, it doesn't matter. You can listen to us. But I have a very strong feeling many people are either watching us on their TV sets or their devices right now. And we'd like to welcome, as part of, as I've declared this morning, International Women's Week. We have the CEO of the Singapore Council of Women's Organizations, Koh Yan Ping. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Morning, Glenn and Angel.
Good morning, Yan Ping. Thank you so much. And happy International Women's Day.
Yes, we actually say Happy International Women's Month now.
Oh, there you go.
Month.
It's a month. It's
That's
a whole
it.
month.
I thought I was already doing well by declaring it International Women's Week, but it is International Women's Month.
We have a whole lot of activities and celebrations the whole month.
Oh, okay,
That's lovely.
okay.
That is lovely.
Nice. So tell us a little bit more about the Singapore Council of Women's Organizations. What exactly do you do and how has it evolved over the years?
Well, Singapore Council of Women's Organizations, I'm just going to say SCWO
Yep.
for short. We are 45 years old this year. So we were started in 1980. Long time ago. I don't know whether some of the listeners are not even born at that time, but I was definitely, I was 1 year old at that time. So it started by a group of ladies, women activists, who felt that, there was a need for us to create more awareness and to fight for women's rights at that time. Because you can imagine in the 70s and the 80s, things are quite different from now. So we were started at that time by a group of ladies, and we only had 15 organizations who were part of us. So we are a council. We actually function like a federation, if you think of it that way, an association where you have different women organizations, women groups looking after women across different areas coming together. So we only had 15, but of course we have grown since. So currently we have more than 60 women organizations who are our members, and altogether we represent close to 600,000 women in Singapore. Yeah, and it's from across different areas and backgrounds. So the issues that we look at are very wide-ranging, but at the end of the day, it's really about helping to make sure that women have their voices heard, women's rights are being protected, and we are being given the equal opportunities. Yeah, so that time when we started, of course, in the early years, it was a lot about advocating and making sure that the women know what are the rights. There was a lot of effort done by our pioneers at that time to try to, also come together and discuss what are some of the policy changes that we require in Singapore to make sure that things are fair for women. So I think one of the biggest and most well-known would be the Women's Charter.
Yeah.
So Women's Charter, it has been amended several times across the decades, right? So it has constantly been updated. So we have always played a role in that, giving our feedback and suggestions on how to make the Women's Charter, even more robust. So that's one. We did a lot of conferences, seminars in those days, really trying to reach out to the women, the regular women, the everyday women, to let them know that, there's help available, you have certain rights, you know what to do. And then, of course, as things evolved in the early 2000s, that's where we started actually IT Hub. So that was the beginning of the IT age, where we started learning computers and we needed to know how to operate a computer. And we actually had an IT hub at our center. And then we helped the women, a lot of them are housewives, to come in and get some basic computer skills. There are a lot of other things that we have done across the years, of course. One area that we're still very passionate about today is, of course, helping to make sure that we no longer see violence against women.
Right.
Yeah, so that's a big topic globally as well. But for us, actually, in 1999, we started a crisis shelter for women who were survivors or victims of domestic violence. And to today, we are still running that shelter. Over the years, we added more services, more programs. So there's a wide range of that. And I don't know whether you remember, maybe a couple of years ago, there was a whole year where there was a lot of talk about women because there was a conversation on women's development in Singapore. So it was a Singapore conversation on women's development that was started in 2020, 2021. So we were also part of that national movement where everybody came together, men and women, young and old, and we all spoke about what do we want to see in terms of a better, more equal society for women in Singapore. And that whole series of conversation ended up in eventually the white paper. On Singapore women's development that was passed in the Parliament, and we were very happy to have been able to taken a part in that process, to be able to give our feedback and gather the voices of the women in the community.
All right.
Okay.
Let's continue to speak to the CEO of the SCWO, that's the Singapore Council of Women's Organizations, Koh Yan Ping, on the Big Show TV. Meantime, here's Gracie Abrams with Risk on Kiss 92.
So you were talking about how you've grown from like 15 to more than 60 organizations under you. So these include organizations like Aware, Babes Pregnancy Crisis Support. I'm just looking at a few off your website.
Yeah.
There's also Singapore Association of Women's Lawyers. So everything to do with women and girls.
You have so much on your plate.
Yes.
How
So
do you
many.
handle that?
It's not actually, it's challenging, to be honest, because our members, like you say, they come from many different, a wide range of backgrounds. Some of them are also community groups like us. Some of them are like NGO, non-profit charity groups. But we also have professional women groups like we have the women lawyers. We also have the women doctors. We also have the financial women associations. So their concerns could be different. But I think at the end of the day, we are all coming together by this one common cause, which is, wanting to make sure that there's really a platform for us to raise up any challenges that we see from women. There's actually a voice that's able to unite everything. And because we all feel that, women in Singapore, we should be able to have fair and equal opportunities in all arenas. So I think that's a common theme that cuts across all our members.
Is this a women's club only? Or,
Yes, it's a women's thing. Men are not allowed.
What do you mean? I love
He wants
women.
to be there.
As you know,
you are welcome. I mean,
and I'm gentle. And
I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, that's a very good question. I mean, I do get asked a lot as well. I mean, it's like a women-only thing. A whole bunch of women always speaking among yourselves. Is that really effective? I think for us, we've also recognized that, it is also important to bring in the voices of the male allies.
Yes, I was about to say.
Yeah, so
You're a male
we can
ally.
be your allies.
Yeah.
you are definitely a male ally, and we've been doing that very much through our programming. So some of our programs, we of course welcome men to be part of it. We've also been organizing a summit since last year called the Summit on Action for Gender Equality. It's a big summit, and at that summit we say, come join us. Even if you are not a woman, we would love for you to be there, because you also have a part to play. I mean, gender equality is a whole society issue. A women's issue, it's a women's issue, but we need both men and women to be able to, make changes, to especially mindsets. When we talk about gender equality, a lot of it goes back down to mindsets and stereotypes, which you need the opposite sex, which is the men, to buy in
understand,
as well,
what's
so we do welcome.
So you talk about gender equality and abuse against women and stuff like that. What about gender equality in the workspace, like things like pay gap and stuff like that? Does that still exist in Singapore? I'm afraid of the answer, but
it does.
It does. Okay.
It's a fact. You can Google it and you'll be able to see the number. What is the gap in Singapore? I mean, we have a pay gap.
Then how come she's earning more than me?
No, I'm not. Clearly, I'm not.
I know how much you... No.
Whoa, you need to take this up with the HR.
right. Are you listening?
No. I mean, jokes aside, that there is a gender pay gap in Singapore. It's MOM tracks that data, actually. So they do publish it as well. But we feel that the issue of the gender pay gap is a complicated one. It's not simply because, the employers is just out there to pay women less, or they just discriminate against women and say, hey, you're a man and women, I'm just going to pay you $1,000 less.
So what is it then?
So it's not. So a lot of it has got to do with the fact that women tend to take career breaks. We tend to take a backseat when we start our family, and then you start to somehow you decided that maybe I want to take up less challenging projects. Maybe I don't want to be so out there. I want to spend more time with my family. Yeah. So in a way, your career trajectory gets affected, and because of that, but the men tend not to have that effect, lah. You know, when they become fathers or when they become dads.
But
they
more
still go.
men now are taking on the role of
Yes.
the moms as well.
Which is encouraging.
Yeah.
Which is encouraging, and that's something that we want to see. And hopefully, as I always say, in the future, I really hope that there will be no such thing as pay gap, because it takes generations to change mindsets and you know, culture and practices and things like that. Because a lot of it still goes back to the fact that women tend to be the caregiver. I must say, there are a lot more men who are doing this as well.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that
I would have done it. But you know what to do.
Yeah, this is a bit late now.
This is my fate. Right?
No, but when we say caregiving, it's not just for kids. It's about
for
caregiving
parents
for your
as well.
parents or
Right.
anybody
Sick.
else in your family who is not well and needs your attention. And you know, back in those days, I think 10, 20 years ago, maybe it tends to be just the women doing it. But now
Yeah.
we're definitely seeing more men. But it takes time to change that, right? And so the pay gap still exists, and we also still see women maybe, you know, there's this thing called occupation segregation, where women tend to go into sectors and jobs, like, you know, service,
More
education,
women-centric,
yeah.
yeah.
And usually these are jobs in sectors that somehow do not, you know, pay as well as sectors in maybe tech, for example. So we see that as an effect as well on the salary and the pays of women. But things are slowly changing. We are progressing. So
Okay.
we remain very hopeful that it will. But again, it means that we also got to do our part. And it starts from home, actually. It starts from young. Changing the mindsets about what gender roles are about. There's no such thing as, you know, mommy is always the one that's in the kitchen anymore.
Or pink is for girls and blue
pink
is for boys.
Yeah, so we don't see that anymore these days in the
Okay,
younger
good.
generation, especially the younger parents. They are also very conscious and mindful of this, and they are role modeling it at home as well. So I think, again, you know, it's a good move in the right direction as a society as well, and that's something that we should look forward to and
Okay.
continue to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, as CEO, my goodness, I mean, if someone had offered me the role, let's say if I was a woman like you, as the CEO of this organization, I would. Oh my God!
It's a lot
I
to
think-
deal with.
Yeah, I mean, you make it look and sound like,
Thank you.
oh yeah, you know, everything is very, you know, I won't say easy, but you know, from the look on your face, you've got like such a bright smile. The moment you walked into the studio, I was like, what a beautiful smile. You know,
Thank you. It's really
Yan
early
Ping
in the
has.
morning.
I mean, it's a lot
And,
to deal with, yeah.
It's a lot to deal with. It's almost scary, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the moment you mentioned over 60 organizations.
From lawyers to unwed mothers
Yeah.
to
Yep.
abused women. I mean, it's so varied.
I feel like you're being
a-
abused now.
No.
I mean, do you have enough time for yourself? I mean, how many meetings do you have a week? I'm sure it's like your entire week is filled with meetings.
Delegation.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely have to admit that it is a very challenging role.
How long have you been CEO, if you don't mind me asking?
2 years.
2 years, okay.
Yeah, 2 years. But
Your
of
skin's
course-
so nice, dude.
all the
I
compliments.
know, yeah. Glenn's trying hard. It's International Women's
Try
Month.
hard. I never try hard. What do you mean?
Never.
I mean it.
Only
Wow.
today.
Yeah, but I mean it's a fulfilling role. I'm very happy to be given this opportunity to be able to contribute. But I cannot do this alone. That there is a team. I mean, all our staff at SCWO, all of them are here because they themselves are very passionate about the issue. They themselves believe in the work that they do. And at the end of the day, again, we are a small organization. We have to rely a lot on volunteers as well. So we do have a big pool of volunteers, and volunteers are really, really important in helping us deliver the kind of impact that we want. And of course, we have. I'm very fortunate to have to, be able to have to. Work together along with a very passionate group, a very group of women who believe very strongly in the issue. And so at the end of the day, it's talking to like-minded people day in, day out. The people that we interact with, whether from our member organizations or from our partners, among our own staff team, it's easy to get things done when you know that you guys are going in the same direction.
Yeah, everyone's
Yeah.
doing it for a common goal, right?
Yes.
Okay, let's go back on air and let's talk about your gala dinner next week.
Oh, yeah.
And also, let's recruit more volunteers for you.
Definitely.
Okay, stand by.
92 traffic.
On the ECP towards the city, there's an accident after Fort Road exit. Avoid lane 3. And in the CTE tunnel towards the AYE, another accident, but this time after Bukit Timah Road's exit. Now, this one's causing a backup all the way to PIE Jurong's exit. Avoid lane 1. If you spot anything else, it's 8855
Welcome back to The Big Show and The Big Show TV. And in celebration of International Women's Month, we have with us the CEO of the Singapore Council of Women's Organizations, Koh Yan Ping, this morning. Good morning, Yan Ping.
Good morning. You know,
Hope you're enjoying yourself so far.
I am.
so far so good. Okay, next Friday, you're going to be hanging out with the First Lady. Because Miss Jane Itogi is the SCWO patron.
Yes,
and you have your gala dinner at the Ritz-Carlton. It's happening on the 21st of March, and this year you celebrate 45 years of empowering women and advancing gender equality. The theme this year is Powering Change. Tell us a little bit more about the gala dinner. How can people get involved with SCWO? Can all people attend this, or is it closed?
Oh yes, definitely. It's a gala dinner, but it's also our main fundraiser event for the year.
Okay.
So we definitely welcome everyone to come and join us. You can support in many ways. You can support by getting a seat at the dinner. Come and join us for dinner. Gather friends and get a whole table and come and party with us, celebrate with us on our 45th birthday. We also have opportunities for you to maybe just make a donation if you want to.
Yeah, I'm looking at that here because if you donate $800, you provide 16 survivors with one therapy session each to help them heal from the trauma of abuse. If you donate $5,000, this pays for 16 single mothers to attend support group sessions for a year. How amazing is that? So you don't have to physically be there. You can also donate money and do some good for the women.
Definitely. Every dollar that we raise from the event will definitely go towards helping us in these critical programs and services that we run. So earlier on, I talked about Star Shelter, which is our crisis shelter. So yeah, definitely a lot of the women survivors in the shelter will benefit from the funds raised. We'll be able to do more programs for them because at the same time, the shelter is not just a roof over their heads, but it's also focused on helping them with the healing and the recovery, the journey to get back on their feet. So there are additional programs that we put in. We do counseling for them, therapy sessions. We send them for courses and workshops that help them build their confidence. So all this will require us to be able to have funds to send them to these programs.
So these are women who have been abused.
Yes, that's right. Domestic abuse. Yeah. So it's the stories that we see are definitely heart-wrenching. But yet at the same time, I feel that we need to be positive, that at least these women are stepping up to ask for help. And once they come in, we'll be able to assist them and help them along on their journey. It's those that, if you do not step out and then we do not know where you are, it's hard to reach to you. And those are the cases that we do not know. And those are the ones that I think we need to pay more attention to. So we through the gala and then through our campaign for 45th, we also want to make sure that there's a lot more awareness about some of these very important issues about violence against women, and to encourage women to step out and ask for help.
So are they in the shelters because their abusers are still out and are free?
We have had issues of abusers threatening and
So they're not in jail, basically.
Why can't they report the abusers?
They do. So a lot of the times the cases, very serious cases, do involve the police as well. Yeah, but it takes time for them to do the investigation, and a lot of them are still in a marriage. So the marriage itself also takes time for them to file for the divorce, their proceedings, so it's not so
It's a safe
straightforward.
space.
So in the meantime, what is most important is the safety, the physical safety for the victims and the survivors. We want to make sure that they are safe. And there are also, there's a lot of incidences where the women, the mums come along with the
The
children.
kids, yeah. And you house them as well
We
with the
house them
kids.
as well at the shelter, and we take care of them as much as we can to make sure that they regain their confidence and they're able to move on. So we've had stories of a lot of our survivors who, after being there with us, they felt that they made the right decision. They managed to leave the bad marriage, right? The marriage that has been affecting them emotionally, mentally, physically. So they end the marriage, and yet at the same time they found new hope right? There's new life, and a lot of them with the children, they are very, very, very. They look forward to the new life, and through the journey with us, some of them gain confidence, they gain new skills. Like I said, we've had some of the survivors who learned different skill sets, like baking. There was one who learned about baking, and she's now actually a home baker. She has her own business. Yeah, and we're very happy, very proud of her. Yeah, so these are some of the ways that you can support, make a donation to help us, do more.
Is there a website?
Oh, yes, scwo.org.sg. Just look us up. We're on all of the various social media as well.
And they can make their donations
yes,
online
you
as well.
reach out to us, and then there will be a way for you to, come and contribute. Whether is it time, money, any even skills-based volunteering is something that we look forward to as well, because we do need more people to come on board and just support us.
Let's talk about volunteerism on The Big Show TV. We are speaking to the CEO of SCWO, Koh Yan Ping, this morning. It's 8:23.
Kiss 92 time check brought.
Yeah, so how can people volunteer?
Volunteering is a very big part, like I said, for SCWO in terms of our programs and operations. And there's something very interesting. We actually have a thrift shop in our center. So back in 2000, a group of ladies, a volunteers group, came together and say, what can we do for SCWO? And they started this called New to You Thrift Shop, and we still have it till today at 96 Waterloo Street. That's where we are. So the thrift shop is open every day, and the thrift shop basically, of course, it's a thrift shop, so you get to buy things there. You get to buy pre-loved clothing, pre-loved items, good quality things, and you can buy. But at the same time, you're doing good, not just for the environment, but you're also doing good for women, because all the money that we make from the thrift shop goes back into, again, SCWO's programs and services.
So these are donations that come from people that just drop them off? And
Yeah, so you can drop off your items at 96 Waterloo Street, and our volunteers will take care of those things. They will look it through, they will sort it, they will inventorize it, they will put it up on the shelves, and the entire operations is run by volunteers as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we do require a lot of volunteers for the shop itself, because there's a whole process, right? And there are times where we run very big bazaars twice a year, and those are the times that we really need a lot of people to come in to support. So that's one, I would say, more regular type of volunteering
Only
opportunity.
women's items?
No, men as well.
Oh, okay.
Children.
Thrift shop, right, okay.
Yeah, so everything. So, I mean, if you have
Glenn,
time, go and come, Angel, come on.
He's got so
Visit
much
us.
stuff to donate.
And
That
new
would be
stuff
great.
as well.
Yeah.
I think half of all my things are in the Philippines right now. Because I'll pass my helper. Sometimes she'll send it to her
Everyone's
hometown.
got Glenn on their back of their
Exactly.
shirt.
All my old jerseys are with Glenn.
I wanted to ask a little bit about the just to go off topic for a while from the thrift shop, but you were talking about abused women earlier. Are those numbers going up or at least coming down?
Well, I wish I could say that it's coming down.
Oh, okay. So it's
Oh,
not.
no.
No.
Is it going up?
I mean, there was a period, especially during COVID, where the numbers really shot up, right?
Yeah.
And I think that there have been discussion around that as well. What happened during that period? I think it's the fact that we are all closed up in our homes,
And you realizing that you really cannot see this person 24/7.
There's really just no way.
It was just awful.
It's very difficult. The relationship is really tough.
Yeah.
So during that period of time, definitely there was a spike. But I will say, when we look at the cases, we can't just say by numbers, because you can't just look at it by the numbers. Because again, like I said earlier, there are a lot of other cases that are happening behind closed doors that we do not know. Because actually, that's why it's called domestic violence. So it happens behind closed doors. And if you don't step out, you don't report it. If nobody, like even neighbors, colleagues, people that we interact on a daily basis, if you see something you think that this woman needs help, I think it will be very important for us to reach out to her.
So what you're saying is the numbers could be a lot higher.
It could be,
Because
we
if they're
really do not know.
unreported,
I'm
right?
sure it's a lot higher.
Yeah.
We do not know, yes. And because so many of the stories that we see at our shelter, the women, they themselves will say that they actually didn't want to ask for help. They didn't want to, because they felt that there was a lot, whether it's shame or whether it's just a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty. They were just going to be, like, I'm just going to be stuck in this situation forever and I don't know what to do, but, this is my life.
But all of them
Don't know
were
how to get out of
physically
it.
abused or psychologically abused?
It could be anything.
A range of that, yeah. So
it could
if
be
we talk about
emotional
abuse,
as well.
Yes, there's a wide range of it. Physical, psychological,
Verbal.
even verbal,
Yeah.
financial abuse as well.
Financial abuse?
What's that mean, financial abuse?
Well, that means maybe the spouse controls all the expenses.
That's
They
not
don't-
allowed.
They don't have money on you.
Do you get a
and-
lot of these women returning to their spouses? Not a lot, but I'm sure you get a lot of cases that they do, right?
I think again, like I said before, it's very much a very personal thing, right? I mean, relationships and things like that. It's very personal. So as much as we try to support the survivors and give them whatever assistance they need, there might be cases, and there are cases where the women herself is not ready. I would say not ready to make the next step, right? And there are cases where they do go back.
yeah.
Yeah.
And even if they want a divorce, maybe their partners don't. So it makes it a little bit
It's a
harder
difficult
as
and
well.
complicated
Harder.
process, which is why we also work with pro bono lawyers. That's why the Singapore Association of Women Lawyers is one of our biggest partners.
right,
Who help with the legal advice.
Yeah.
Help to provide that legal part of support that they need.
Yeah.
So we run legal clinics as well for these women who just want to find out what are the options. What's
If you
the
need my help,
process
just let me know. As you know, I'm a bit of a divorce expert here. so.
Is there any inspiring stories of a beneficiary, perhaps, that you can tell us about, whose
So
life has changed?
There's been so many. There's
Yeah.
been so many, but maybe just that one lady that I spoke about earlier about how when she came in, most of them came in really without having a skill set. Because they've been kept at home, they're not allowed to interact with other people, right? They are very much isolated. But once they come to the shelter, they realize that hey, there's a whole, in a way, community of women who have the same experiences as her, who've gone through the same thing as her.
They're not alone.
They're not alone, and they encourage each other, right? So that's the first step. And then, of course, through some of the programs that we run for them at the shelter, they also pick up new skills. So there's this one very sweet lady who, found a passion in baking.
That's the one
That's the one I
right,
said
okay.
earlier. Yeah, she found a passion in baking, and she's been doing this baking business on her own right now for a few years. And we are always very proud of her, and we always try to support her business. When we have opportunities to, have visitors over, we'll buy her stuff,
Oh,
her
nice.
cookies, which are really yummy, by the way. They're really, really, really good. And we present them to our visitors and our guests, and then even our own staff are her regular customers. Yeah.
Okay, okay, yes. We're going for a traffic update. Stand by.
Kiss 92 traffic.
If you're traveling in the CTE tunnel headed towards the SLE, look out for an accident right after Outram Road's exit and avoid lane 3 if you're there. Other than that, it's the usual peak hour traffic. Let us know if you spot anything. It's 885550
Welcome back to The Big Show and The Big Show TV. And just like that, we've been talking to you, Yan Ping, now for 30 minutes.
That's quick, huh?
That didn't feel like 30 minutes, right?
No, it did not.
Yeah, other shows will ask you to come in for like maybe 10 minutes and then bye-bye. But we enjoy your
you.
company so
Yeah,
much. Thank you so much for coming in to tell us a little bit more about SCWO, and also for reminding us that it is International Women's Month.
That's right.
Not International Women's Day or week.
So just as a final question, are there any upcoming policies or initiatives in Singapore that SCWO actively supports that's going to enhance women's rights?
We have the white paper on Singapore women's development, which essentially it's like an entire 10-year roadmap about what we should be doing, to improve women's development and to help with women's progress. So as part of that whole roadmap of which cuts across from 10 years, right? It has 25 action plans. Within the 25 action plans, there are a lot of new government policies that we can expect. One that has just, taken effect was the tripartite guidelines on flexible work arrangement requests that took effect in December last year. So now every employer, you have to consider the request from your employee when they ask you for flexible work. So
Okay.
that's one. And of course, the coming up one that we are all very excited about is the Workplace Fairness Bill, because that is the one that will really try to stamp out the discrimination that we see in the workplace. So no more discrimination in the workplace, whether is it by gender, whether is it by even age, age is also another thing. So there are all these policies that we are expecting to see, legal legislations coming up as well, trying to improve the workplace fairness for women. But again, when I say women, I think it's also important to highlight that it's not just, these policies are not just meant for women. In fact, whether it's a flexible work arrangement, whether it's about discrimination issues, it's both men and women as well. And I think we want to make sure that we don't sideline the guys in all this conversation. So we also need to remember that one key thing that we want to say is to make sure that the caregiving role will no longer be just a women's role, and we want to encourage more men to also take part in that role. But I, at the same time, understand that sometimes it's also not that easy, because at the workplaces there are bosses or even supervisors,
mindset,
managers,
right?
that might give you that look,
that judgy look, like, oh.
Yeah, recently I just had a very, it's an anecdote story, but somebody said that, he tried to take leave, was it the kid or the parent? I can't remember, for a certain reason, right? Obviously. And the first thing that the boss or the manager that said was like, where's your wife? Like,
because why is she not doing
why
this?
is she not the one taking this leave? Why has it has to be you?
So sexist.
It is. It's terrible. So that's something that I think we don't want to see in our workplaces anymore.
Yeah.
So some of these legislation and policies are meant to encourage the right behavior, but again, policies and legislations are very hard things, like hard stuff. You have it in place, but it's the people that will make the change.
Like you said, it's all down to the mindset.
It's down to the mindset.
We need to change the mindset.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we've run out of time. Thank you so much. We'd love to keep you here for like a whole hour, but then, I'm quite sure you have many meetings to attend today alone, start of the work week. We've been speaking to the CEO of the Singapore Council of Women's Organizations, Koh Yan Ping. Thank you so much, Yan Ping, for coming in.
Thank you, Glenn.
And all the best,
Angel.
okay?
Yes.
I mean, if you're feeling a bit stressed out, overwhelmed, give me a call. We can go for a drink.
Wow, I'll take you on that.
And remember, you can go to scwo.org.sg to find out more about how you can get involved.
All right, up next, Nelly Furtado. This is Man Eater on KISS 92.